NIO stock has been trading down for the longest time. And so when will the pain be over? Well, in this video, we're gonna look at the two reasons why NIO stock has been going down and the factors that will cause the stock to go up. And the first bit of news is the delist. Is NIO still at risk of being delisted? Well, if you are not aware, what happened for the delist is that there were some stocks, some Chinese stocks, most of them, that are at risk of being delisted from American exchanges. And so there's been a lot of development on that, and that's what we're gonna look at just now. So this is the first bit of news. So Didi stock, Didi Global tumbles as SEC steps up the listing threats for ADRs. So it's just an acronym for all the Chinese stocks that are listed in the American Stock Exchange. And so this is the acronym. So if you look at what is going on, we see that the SEC is actually adding more and more names to the list of stocks that are considered to be delisted. And so, for example, this is the bit of news right here. So here, the SEC added more companies to the list, sorry. And basically, this is what's happening. Most companies, including NIO, are going down at least 5%. And obviously, this is a bit of news that came out recently. And so what might happen if NIO is completely delisted from the SEC, from the American exchanges? Well, what NIO did, they actually listed on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. And this is the kind of confirmation that we saw coming out again recently, that they successfully listed on the main board of the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong. So as you can see, they are already working for basically preventing a massive crash where all the shareholders end up with nothing. Now, this bit of news is very important because it means, and this needs to be confirmed, that if you still have some NIO shares in your portfolio and NIO gets delisted, you might be given shares of the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Now, that would mean that you don't end up having nothing, basically, with a whole nothing after the delist. So this is something that we need to keep looking at news for, because if it all pans out properly, where the SEC says that there's gonna be no delist, that would be an incredible bit of news, an incredible catalyst for NIO to go up. And this is the first bit of news, the first factor. The second factor is instead the overall market. Now, NIO had that massive pop-up, and I'm gonna look at the chart right now, the massive pop, basically when the stock went through the roof, when we were in a state of euphoria in 2021, when basically the whole market was like in La La Land, let's say. We had easy money, we had low interest rates. Basically, the stock market was just the place where people would put their money and have guaranteed returns. And this is what we had back then. So basically the question is, when can we go back to these days? And this is the question that I'm gonna answer. So why are we instead going down now? Well, the answer is right here. It is the Fed. So the Fed has been tapering over the last few weeks and days. They've been tapering their purchase of bonds, and now we are at a very crucial stage. As you can see, the curve of the basically the purchasing rate is slowing down quite a lot. We've almost stabilized. We're almost there in terms of increase. We are almost flat. We've almost reached our plateau. Now, this is very important if you've been following me on this channel, because the bond market is just the way the stock market is the rocket fuel for the stock market. If you take away the rocket fuel, the stock market, the rocket, doesn't fly. And so that's what we are seeing right now, with the bond yield going up, with the Fed slowing down more and more, and the overall stock market is slowly going down. This is all by design. It's not something that you and we were not expecting. I've been making loads and loads of videos. Go back in time, look at November 2021, even December 2021. I've been telling you, when the whole market was still like flying high and hoping for the best, I told you that the taper would be the main reason why the old stocks, and NEO was one of them, obviously one of the stocks that would be mostly affected, would just get a massive beating. Now, why is this taper happening? Well, and when can we see a reversal? Instead of seeing a taper, when can we actually see more easy money being printed? Well, the reason why it's been tapered, the money is being tapered, is the inflation. Inflation is through the roof, as you can see from this chart. It's been going higher and higher and higher, and even higher some more. Now, the last month it was up 8.5%, which is incredibly high, guys. And as you know, most of these figures do not include some items that we still pay. So I would say that 8.5% is underestimating the problem. And so when can we see some kind of turn around? When can we actually see some kind of deflation, I suppose? Well, many analysts expect that March will mark the peak in inflation. And March is just the month that just passed. But, and there is a but here, this is although, the war in Ukraine is far from over. So supply chain bottlenecks persist and consumer demand remains elevated, which is likely to weigh on the CPI for longer. Now, what that means in simple terms is that if the consumer demand keeps pushing the prices higher, and if we see more issues caused by the war, which seems to be far from over as of now, inflation will adjust accordingly. And it's inflation mostly due to things like oil, things and commodities like food. It's all connected, and the next stage of the stock market, my prediction is that is not going to be bullish. We have just experienced what happens when there is a taper. And the taper, like I said, is about to be completed. But then the next stage is the reversal of the taper, which is when the Fed, Jerome Powell, will put back the money that was injected, actually will extract the money that was injected in the market. And by doing that, they will sell back the bonds that the Fed bought. Now, what that will do, it will even further speed up the increase in bond yields. And so the money, basically all of this boils down to one thing. The money will even more move from the stock market into safety, and safety meaning bonds. Now, so that is the case. That's my prediction for at least a year from now. I'm not expecting things to get better at least in a year from now. No, obviously long term, if you are a neo investor, long term, we are definitely 100% going back to all-time high. And so if you want to accumulate now, well, you know that you have to hold for the long term. And also NEO is a very speculative stock because it's not profitable yet. But in the short term, expect pain, and watch for these two factors. And I'm gonna make more videos because, as you can understand, this is not final and more needs to happen. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next NEO video.